in 2021. Marissa had been working with a physical therapist out of Australia named Physio. Pei was helping me with a little bit of stuff for my back, but more in regards to jiu-jitsu and golf, so kind of rotational stuff. And Pei is the IPF lifter for Australia in the 52 kilo class, same class as Marissa. So, she's got powerlifting on her mind. And she asked me, she's like, do you want to lift heavy again? And I was like, oh, no, I've done that. And she kind of almost offhand says like, oh, I don't think it'd be too tough to get you back. And I was like, all right, bet, Pei, let's see. I'll do some stuff with you. So now we're in like late, maybe November or December 2021 that I start doing some stuff with Pei to actually squat and deadlift again. And I'm starting at like maybe 80 kilos, 100 kilos in the squat. Mind you, I'd squatted 440 kilos before. So it's an ego hit, a slice of humble pie, and that's always part of the rehab process to have to regress like that. And so I start with that, and as I go through the year with Pei, the things that really stood out to me working with Pei were, she talked about powerlifters becoming overly specific in their training. So they're great at lumbar extension, they're great at hip external rotation, and they have very little rotation in their training at all. And I came from an athletic background of track and field where I had a lot of those things, and I was moving my body dynamically in all these different ways. And then in 10-ish years of mostly powerlifting training, I lost some of that ability. So reintroducing, for me, the big things that Pei did were reintroducing the ability to control flexion in my training, control lumbar flexion, get some hip internal rotation, and then control rotation. Because even though you're not trying to, have lumbar flexion or internal rotation necessarily while you're lifting or rotation, sometimes it happens. And if you have no tolerance for it, that's when it becomes really problematic. So that was the stuff that was the most impactful for me in my rehab process. And then of course, managing the overall load of the training. So, a physical therapist will use the phrase, that an injury is a tissue's inability to adapt to load, which is kind of a big fancy sounding term. And really what it means is you did too much or you went too heavy and your body wasn't ready for it. So it was very significant for me to manage the load of my training, both volume and intensity over time. And I did that in a fairly conservative structure, because once you've, not been able to stand up for more than a few minutes, or, I remember having times where I knew I was going to have to put shoes on